First and foremost, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Rakha Kodesh. Double honors to the elders and the apostles of Great Millstone, and peace and blessings to the elect. And today we're going to go into the book of Ecclesiastes, the 6th chapter. There is an evil which I have seen under the sun, and it is common among men. A man to whom God hath given riches, wealth, and honor, so that he wanteth nothing for his soul of all that he desireth. Wanting meaning there's nothing that he's lacking. Everything that he wants, he has through his riches, wealth, and honor. Yet God giveth him not power to eat thereof, but a stranger eateth it. This is vanity, and it is an evil disease. So this is one who has been, blessed with all these riches and so on and so forth. But then something happens, whether they die or, are incapable of actually enjoying those. And it is left onto a stranger or somebody else to then be able to indulge. And Solomon says this is also vanity, because what was the point then of him gaining all of those riches, wealth, and honor? If a man beget 100 children and live many years, so that the days of his years be many, and his soul be not filled with good, and also that he have no burial, that is a proper burial, I say that an untimely birth is better than he, because you can live long, right? And live many years, you can have many children, and yet you don't live a life that's filled with joy, just sorrow and misery. And then at your death, you don't even have a burial or a proper burial. Solomon's saying here that an untimely birth, somebody that that died at birth, okay. It says here, right, in the NLT, it would have been better for him to be born dead. So a stillborn or somebody that died at birth is better off than such an individual here. For he cometh in with vanity and departeth in darkness, and his name shall be covered with darkness. So that's his whole life, right? He came into the world, he labored, but everything was pointless, right? He suffered a hard life and then died. And then that was it. In verse 5, moreover, he hath not seen the sun. And actually going back to verse 4 again, let's look at this in the NLT. It says his birth would have been meaningless, and he would have ended in darkness. He wouldn't even have had a name, right? So actually dealing with if he was born like a stillborn. It says, and he would never have seen the sun or known of its existence, yet he would have had more peace than in growing up to be an unhappy man, right? So verse 4 is actually dealing with continuing the thought from verse 3, when Solomon says an untimely birth, meaning one that, died at birth, would have been better off than this man who lived many years, but in misery and sorrow. Because the one who died at birth, as it says, he would have came in vanity, departed in darkness, and his name shall be covered with darkness. So the one who died at birth wouldn't even have to, suffer these things that this man that lived long suffered, because as it says, his birth would have been meaningless, and it would have ended in darkness, meaning death, and he wouldn't even have had a name. So it's like he wouldn't even have existed, like he wouldn't even have been. And it says here, moreover, he hath not seen the sun, because he died at birth, nor known anything. This hath more rest than the other, right? He would have been more at peace or happier than the one who suffered this hard life. Yea, though he live 1,000 years twice old, yet hath he seen no good. Do not all go to one place? He says he might live 1,000 years twice over, but still not find contentment. And since he must die like everyone else, well, what's the use, right? So somebody else that dies young, but they don't suffer the same as you, and then you live twice as, let's say like 2,000 years old, and you're still going to die just like this other person. So what's the point in living 2,000 years old? It doesn't give you any edge over this person if you both go to the same place at the end of the day. All the labor of man is for his mouth, and yet the appetite is not filled. So you work and you work and you work. Really, it's to feed yourself, to take care of yourself, and yet it's like trying to fill up a dark void. It's never filled. So that means you're going to continually have to labor and labor and labor. And once again, it's like being in a hamster wheel. For what hath the wise more than the fool? What hath the poor that knoweth to walk before the living? It says here, so are wise people really better off than fools? Do poor people gain anything by being wise and knowing how to act in front of others? Better is the sight of the eyes than the wandering of the desire. And the reason he's saying this in verse 8 is because, like he just mentioned, we are all under the the effects of mortality. Okay, the things that you do in life. Remember, Solomon is speaking from a purely, carnal experience based experiment. Okay, this isn't like factoring in the the um, the world we live in today, right? With the Hawashai and the the laboring in the truth, and the life that'll come after. Because we know that with that in mind, yes, there is definitely um, more that the wise, when they deal with the wisdom of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai, has than the fool. But speaking purely from this kind of perspective, as he's saying, what's really the benefit here if you all suffer the same thing, right? The wise man has to work to feed himself just like the poor, okay? Or the fool. The wise man gets ill and sick just like the fool. The wise man dies just like the fool. So his wisdom can't save him from death, neither can the fool's folly save him from death. Verse 9 in the NLT, enjoy what you have rather than desiring what you don't have, right? Better is the sight of the eyes than the wandering of the desire. You have a beautiful woman, but you're wondering about another beautiful one. Okay, you have a car, but you're wondering about what you don't have. It's better to focus on what you have and enjoy that, or else you'll never you'll never be satisfied. This is also vanity and vexation of spirit. NLT, enjoy what you have rather than desiring what you don't have. Just dreaming about nice things is meaningless, like chasing the wind. Verse 10, that which hath been is named already, and it is known that it is man. Neither may he contend with him that is mightier than he. Everything has already been decided. It was known long ago what each person would be. So there's no use arguing with God about your destiny, because it's already set. Some people believe that, you can change your fate or destiny and so on, but that's not the case. You're going to end up where the Lord has set you up to end up. That's the scriptures tell you that, right? Who hath resisted his will? And the answer is no one. Verse 11, seeing there be many things that increase vanity, what is man the better? The more words you speak, the less they mean. So what good are they? NIV, the more the words, the less the meaning. And how does that profit anyone? And likewise, right, it goes back to certain, even a previous chapter about keeping your not being rash with your mouth, because I went into that quote, right? Dealing with a fool, it is better to remain silent and to be thought a fool than to speak and remove all doubt. So if you can get a point across in one sentence, why make it a paragraph? Verse 12, for who knoweth what is good for man in this life? All the days of his vain life which he spendeth as a shadow. For who can tell a man what shall be after him under the sun? It says here, in the few days of our meaningless lives, who knows how our days can be spent? Our lives are like a shadow. Who can tell what will happen on this earth after we are gone? So keep in mind, Solomon is saying this from the perspective of, like, he said that he gave his mind to know wisdom, and he looked and experimented, right? Looking at all different kinds of lifestyle that people have lived, right? And the things that they've labored for, the rich, the poor, the oppressed. And he started to observe these things and he compiled them, right, into these thoughts of wisdom here. So that's why he's speaking like this, as he's saying, really, when you look at it, your life is it's temporary. Most of the things you do in life are vain. They're like a shadow. It's there one time, then the next is not. And once you're gone, you don't know what's going to happen after you're gone. Oh, guess that was it for that chapter. So that brings us to the end of the book of Ecclesiastes, the 6th chapter. As you can see, when speaking in these words, especially when you read in these words of wisdom in the Old English, sometimes it's easier when you look at it in some of the other translations, multiple different ones, and you can see sort of the point that is being made by Solomon here. So, Lord willing, that was edifying to the elect. In closing, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Rakha Kodash. And until next time, Shalom.